Welcome to another episode of Let's Be Perfectly Queer on Rogers TV Barrie. My guest tonight is the writer and the lead actor, or one of the lead actors, in the Talk Is Free theater production that is in Barrie this weekend of Gypsy Queen. Please welcome to the show this evening my guest, Rob Ward. Rob, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having us on.
So you're in Barrie.
We are, yeah, we made it.
Where did you come to Barrie from?
We flew out of Manchester to London via Toronto. We finally made it here.
Fantastic,
yeah,
fantastic. It, yeah. So the show is running from Wednesday. There's a performance Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday evening.
Right, yeah.
And then we've got a matinee on Saturday.
That's
and
right.
The final show on Saturday night, correct?
You got it, yep.
Great. Gypsy Queen. Tell me about it. Where did Gypsy Queen come from?
I guess it comes from me personally, but what I've always been passionate about writing about is being LGBTQ+ in the world of sport, because I myself grew up in a mad sort of soccer family back in the UK. I'm a huge sports fan myself, and you know, as you grow up, you start to realise things about yourself, i.e. I'm gay, and then you start to look around you and you start to see that you don't see yourself represented in the world of sport. Sure. You feel also like a complete outsider. And, you know, I guess it didn't hit me straight away just how difficult this was, you know, and then as I was growing up and I came out, and again, I started to see that there was no one out there. There were no openly gay sports people, really, and the attitude towards being gay in the world of sport was quite toxic, really, you know. Sure. And that's where it came from, and I just, you know, a few years back, sort of working in Manchester, started a little theatre company, and I'd always written, and I wanted to write something, and my very first production, very first play I wrote, I should say, was a play about being gay in soccer. We toured around with that was a one-person show, and then we came to Gypsy Queen, which was inspired by, we've got a boxer back in the UK, Tyson Fury. You may or may not have heard of him, I don't know, but he's the Gypsy King. And a few years ago, there was a bit of a controversy in the UK. We have a Sports Personality of the Year award that's given out by the BBC. And Tyson Fury was nominated for it. And then it came out in the press that he'd done an interview in which he'd made unbelievably homophobic comments. And he'd done that sort of classic thing the homophobe does, where they say it and then they go, oh, but the Bible says it's so, sure. You know, what am I going to do, you know? Never mind the other ridiculous things that are in the Bible, you know, in the Old Testament. That's
another show.
But hey, that's a different show altogether. But yeah, but it was that classic excuse, and then there was a real sort of outcry in the UK, and the BBC were caught in the centre of this sort of controversy. They refused to take him off the shortlist for this award. And it just kind of got me angry, and often, you know, when you're angry, you write, and it just came from there, really. I'd had, as I say, being a big believer in LGBTQ+ visibility in the world of sport, I'd already written a short play about two boxers, because I think boxing is, in many ways, the most macho and sort of brutal in terms of toxic masculinity of the sports. And I just couldn't find another angle for the short play. And then when this happened, I thought, well, what if we made one of the characters from a gypsy Irish traveller community, which is where Tyson Fury is from. Gypsy King became Gypsy Queen, right. Quite deliberately and provocatively. There you go. Luckily, he hasn't found me yet. He's not cut with me. He's about 6'7". He's a big fella.
Yes, he's a big lad.
Yeah. But it just came from there, really, and then the idea grew. Well, what if we had these two boxers? One of them's a gypsy, one of them's a professional boxer, one of them's openly gay, one of them not yet. So they meet. What would happen? And it just came from there, really.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So you wrote this back in 2016?
2016, yeah.
And you've been touring it now for how long?
This is 3 years now.
Wow.
On and off, yeah. Okay. Yeah, we did late 2016, autumn 2016, we did some previews, I guess, Manchester, London, just trying to get it out there. And with it being a piece of new writing, you know, that came from myself, it's just, over the years we've been on the road, it's evolved, it's tweaked. We've brought different directors in, we've brought movement directors in, just to keep it fresh, I guess, because when you're on the road for that long with it, and I think also going to different places, meeting different people, different audiences, they all, you know, it's all keeping the show fresh, and that's what's important for me, is making each audience every night you go out there, you've got to give them something that is fresh, that feels like a live performance just for them, and that's been the key to it, I think.
Sure, and I would think that as performers, you would need to keep it fresh for yourself as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even you know, even in the changing rooms earlier, me and John, the other actor in the show, we were just talking about something, and we thought, you know, that moment, what if we did that? You know, and this is several years on, so I think both me and John like to keep challenging each other, you know, with when we go out there and perform, and I think that keeps it live for both of us.
And the production has always featured you and John, or have other actors been involved? Or?
So it's always featured me. I've not sacked myself yet, but we did have another actor who was involved earlier on, and he moved on.
Okay.
And you know, I was very fortunate to find John, who's come in and you know, put his own stamp on it. So it's just gone from there, really.
Fantastic. And what was it that made you decide to choose Barry as your North America debut of this production?
When I was in Edinburgh a couple of years ago at the Edinburgh Festival, they have, every year, they have what they call a producer's breakfast, which is basically a cattle market where you've got a load of people who program for theatres, and you've got a load of kind of hungry theatre makers who want to meet people and get their plays put on. Yeah. And because obviously with Edinburgh being the largest fringe festival in the world, you get people from all around the world there. And I went along to this, and I was looking at the photos on the screen, there's so-and-so from that theatre, so-and-so from that theatre, and I saw Arkadiy's name, and I thought, Talk is Free Theatre, you know, interested in LGBT, well, okay, well, I'll go and chat with him. And we literally caught each other right at the end of the big meet-up, and we got chatting away, and he was meant to fly back to Toronto that evening, and luckily he had one slot that was free. And it just so happened to be the time slot that our show was on. Wow. So I managed to get him down to that, and hey, 2 years later, thank God I did, because here we are.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. So did you have any other interest in other parts of Canada to bring this to? Or Barrie is obviously the beginning for you, but do you plan to expand across the country with the production
absolutely.
as well?
I think, you know, myself and my business partner Max Emerson, we have our company. We're about a year or so old now, and we've always, you know, we like to do it in stages. You know, get the show out there. Let's get touring nationally around the UK. Then let's see how further afield we can take it. And that's just how it's worked, really. Barrie was the first opportunity we had in North America. Since then, you know, a couple of other opportunities have come up, and just being out here in Canada, having a fantastic time, and starting to see the potential for other parts of the country that we could take the show to, and we're always looking to expand. Yeah. And
the venues that you have had the show at in the UK, are they smaller cities similar to Barrie, or have you been in some of the larger venues? Yeah,
I mean we've been all over. You know, we've done a few runs in London, we've done Manchester, Liverpool, Birmingham, some of the bigger cities. Wow. But at the same time, we've been. I think what's quite important to me is going to the smaller towns, kind of the places where I was from, where there weren't a lot of openly gay people. It wasn't a cool thing to be, you know, when I was growing up. And I think it's certainly a lot of those sort of post-industrial northern towns, taking the show there. I'm meeting a lot of like-minded sort of people from those LGBTQ plus communities, going to places in the south of Wales, you know, really hard-hit, economically deprived areas. We went along to old miners' kind of social clubs and performed there. Do you know what I mean? We've done the show in a boxing ring in a. Yeah,
I read something about that. That's really cool.
Yeah, and it's just. I think it's about getting people along to see the show that you feel it would benefit from it. You know, whether that is people in smaller communities who don't receive a lot of LGBTQ plus work. I think it is important, and going back to what I said earlier about, for me growing up, it's important to see yourself represented out there in wider society, in the public eye, whether that is sporting role models, actor role models, or whether it's just hearing stories from your community on the stage, it's important because otherwise we go invisible. And, you know, where we are in the world right now, certainly, you know, where I'm coming from the UK, we've got this uncomfortable shift to the right, really, politically. And I think it's important always to combat that with visibility, and I'm very, very big on that.
No question. I think we're seeing similar things here in Canada, and I think that's sort of the way the world goes as the US goes, and with the changes in the US over the last couple of years, that seems to be mushrooming to other elements within our planet as well.
Yeah, that's it. And it's just important that our voices stay out there and we keep fighting. You
absolutely,
know?
absolutely. So give me just a brief synopsis of what someone can expect coming to see the play.
It's a story about, as I say, it's about a bare-knuckle fighter from an Irish traveller or gypsy background who wants to become a professional boxer. He starts training at a gym. He meets a professional boxer who is gay. He starts to discover things about himself. And the play essentially asks the question, can these two men be together? Can they fall in love in this pretty brutal world, you know? The play looks at, you know, LGBTQ plus visibility in sport, but it also touches on with his background, excuse me, the Catholic faith, the relationship between faith and sexuality. It has a look at toxic masculinity, what it is to be a man in 2019. And it is also played out with a lot of humour, because I'm a big advocate of, you know, when you want to tell a story, the best way to engage people is to make it a human story. And what is it we all do? We laugh and we cry. You know, every human being on the planet knows those emotions. Right. I'm not a big fan of plays that, you know, you get a script and it's like whacking yourself around the head. Listen to what I'm trying to say. Yeah. Let's engage people in a human story that's about love, that's got comedy, that's got humour. Let's get them in, and then hopefully from that they can really connect to the message of the play. Yeah,
make it happen organically.
That's it, man. Yeah,
that's fantastic. Well, I know I am excited to see the performance, and I'm very grateful that you've chosen Barry to premiere this in North America.
Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it, Rob.
Absolute pleasure.
Over you.
George O'Connell. You can call me Gorgeous George. Bare-knuckle fighter, part-time poet.
Right. Yeah, sorry, mate. I think you've got the wrong place.
The new kid in town.
Yeah.
Vic tells me he needs a champion.
Hang on, Vic. There's going to be the rocket up my arse. Is it this pike?
Hey.
What?
I let that go once because you're the chief's son. But you call me a pikey one more time, I'll hit you so hard you'll be pissed into a bag rest of your life.
What, you fancy your chances?
I'll have a crack at anything, me, mate.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Gloves on.
Yeah? I love a baptism of fire.
Joining me on the set now is John Askew. John, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here. John, you are one of two performers in Gypsy Queen.
Yeah.
Now in Barrie for a 4-night run.
Yes.
5 shows altogether, because we've got the matinee on Saturday as well. So welcome to Barrie, first of all.
Thank you.
Have you had a chance to visit our small city here at all? And
we've had a wander around the lake, and we went to one of the bars yesterday.
Oh, nice, nice.
And
what do you think of our little city?
It's really cute. When we drove in, there was someone. It's my first time in North America, and when we drove in, we're driving up this road. There's leaves everywhere. There was someone with a leaf blower, an idyllic house. So it looked like a set. To be honest, when we drove in, it was quite
Yeah, it sometimes feels that way too. It really does.
Yeah, it's nice. It's great being here. Everyone's really nice.
Yeah, so far. Yeah.
So far.
Yeah, so far so good. That's good. That's good. So we've got 5 performances this week of the play. What is it about the play that you want folks who come to it to walk away with? What's the message behind this play for you?
I think a lot of what the play talks about is kind of being who you are and accepting that, and being confident in that. And I think that's a message that, you know, everyone can take away from the show.
Right. And I know Rob wrote the show in 2016, and it's been touring pretty much nonstop since then. And you joined the tour when?
I think I joined probably about 2 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, about 2. No, oh my God, no, it's not. It's 3 years ago.
Okay.
3 years ago I joined the show. Wow. And it was just before Christmas when I met Rob, at the meeting to do the show, if I wanted to do it or not.
And what do you think you have brought to the show that it may not have had in the earlier renditions?
I want to be really careful here.
Yes,
'cause
yes.
I'm friends with the guy who did it before me. Excuse me. I think, I don't know if I bring, anything better. I just think I probably bring something different. The previous guy, we're very different as actors. And I think, that's probably been quite beneficial for the show to have a different point of view, as it always is.
Unique and fresh.
Yeah, sure. And yes, I think that's probably, what I bring different. I'm being really careful.
So if you had to give us a brief synopsis, an overview of what folks coming to the show can expect, what would that sound like?
So, what they can expect, or kind of story-wise, what do you mean?
A little bit of both.
Yeah, sure. So I think what people can expect is something quite fast-paced, something quite funny, but also something that has a real heart to it, and it's got a real sense of place in the north of England, where me and Rob are from, and so it's got it's a really good insight into the people there and the landscape and stuff there. I think in terms of the story, I always tell the story from my character's point of view, because that's what I in my head, which Rob won't be happy with. But the play seems to me to be about two fighters from kind of different worlds. One's a professional boxer looking for a title fight, and the other's a bare-knuckle gypsy fighter from a travelling family with Irish heritage, and they're both kind of trying to find their place and be accepted in different ways. And my character Dane is much more kind of confident in what he is, but still has trouble kind of with his dad, who's a big influence in his life, and struggles between that, his sexuality and the masculine world of boxing and the world that his dad's in. And obviously, Rob's main character, George, there's a lot of kind of prejudice and discrimination for gay people amongst travellers. So he's kind of coming to terms with that and struggling with that, and trying to find his feet in that world as well. And he kind of meets Dane, and they both learn a lot from each other. Yeah, that's what I would say the show's about. So,
I mean, at the heart of this story, obviously it's a story about sport and boxing and the link between sport and the LGBTQ world. Yeah. But at the heart of this, I think it's a love story, right?
Sure.
And I've read a little bit. I haven't seen the play yet, obviously, and I'm very excited to come on Saturday night to see the final performance. Sure. I think it's going to be amazing. But I have read about some of the scenes, the love scene in particular, and I'm wondering, has there been any changes at all made to the production for the fact that it's here in North American Barrie, or are we going to see the same raw type of scenes that were shot and performed rather in the UK? Yeah, I think it would be kind of against what we're about as people and as a company to kind of dilute a show and not give people the full version of what Rob wrote. I don't think that would be very fair. So yeah, you're seeing the version as it is, as it will be. Great. Because now I'm sure you, and correct me if I'm wrong, you get folks that will likely come to the play thinking they're coming to a play about boxing.
Sure.
And they may get a left uppercut to the jaw and realize that I'm seeing something more than that.
Sure.
What sort of experiences have you had with audiences that have come expecting one thing, and at the end of the play realizing that this is not quite what I expected? Have there been both positive and negative responses from audiences with respect to that?
Yeah, I think we played at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival in the UK, and we had a few people come thinking it was a show solely about boxing, these kind of really like macho laddie men turning up. And I think
guys like me, you mean?
Guys like you. What was quite nice is, when those people stayed and those people continued to watch, because I think at the end of the day, they're the people we want to see the show.
Absolutely.
And they're the kind of people we want to kind of influence and, you know, just show the material too. So that was really nice, that they came for perhaps the wrong reasons, but stayed for the right ones. So that's pretty nice to hear. And we used to hear it when people were walking out, because we were in the wings. So we used to hear people walking out and chatting and saying, you know, that's not what I expected. Mm-hmm. But they enjoyed it and the response was great. So that's kind of, been really positive.
That's awesome. Well, hopefully you'll get those same responses in Barrie as well.
Yeah, hopefully.
I think that's important. I know in some of the work that I do when I speak to groups, it always sometimes gets to feel like you're preaching to the choir.
Sure.
And sometimes you want to preach to those that you can convert as well, right? So to have folks show up that maybe are expecting one thing, but actually leave with a different experience, or an experience that they may not have had otherwise, I think is extremely important. And certainly helps to normalize what it means to be LGBTQ, especially in the world of sports.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if you're just playing to people who already agree with you, you are preaching to the choir a little bit, as you said. So it's nice to have different people and different perspectives come and you know, engage with the work and the material and the conversation that we're having. So
what about your background on a personal level? How does that intertwine with the character that you play?
Yes, it was a big thing that attracted me to the piece, to be honest, was the fact that I grew up in a hugely sporting environment. I was an academy footballer at Manchester United, and my dad put a lot of pressure on me to kind of play. And there was this thing of, I was kind of living his dream, because he was on the verge of being a professional golfer, and he never quite made it. Right. So I was kind of living his fantasy, really. And, you know, it was quite tough on me in that respect. And I think when I first read the piece, I really saw, the first time I've read a piece of work actually that really captured that truthfully, that experience between son and dad, of this unspoken kind of tussle and tension. And I think me and my dad kind of working through that, like I'm closer to my dad now than I ever was growing up. And I think that was a huge thing that attracted me to the piece, is the way it talked about that relationship. So that's still something that kind of drives me through the play. Right. Yeah.
Now, I know I've read that during the performance, both you and Rob played different characters as well.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that, and how those changes happen when you go from being one character on stage to another, and how many characters do each of you actually play?
Sure. So I'd think the number now what we actually play. I think
that many? Wow.
I think there's nine characters in the play.
Wow.
I think, and we each play 4 or 5, and again, that was a big thing that attracted me to the piece. That it's funny. Like I'm never, in most circumstances, never going to get to play an Irish mum. And so being able to do that and play in that respect was fantastic. And I think a lot of the humour from the piece comes from us kind of multi-rolling, and you know, some people kind of sit through it, and then at the end they're like, wow, you know, there's just 2 people here, and we've seen a whole story, which means it's very theatrical, the piece. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what audiences have liked about it, the theatrical nature of it, and that you see the changes. So none of the changes happen off stage. Once we come on, we're on for the 70 minutes. You see all the changes in front of you. Cool. So the physical changes, the vocal changes, the costume. You see it all. So it's very kind of theatrical in that sense.
So set-wise, this is the gym set,
this is
obviously.
Us. Yep.
And so does this morph into other sets as well, or is there other things that get brought onto stage throughout the performance?
Basically, everything that's on the stage stays on. Nothing goes off or comes on, but things, you know, come out of lockers and drawers and off hooks and things. And the stage moves to create kind of different configurations.
That's cool.
For different areas.
So can I ask? Can I get a little bit of the Irish mom voice? Give me a couple of lines as the Irish mom.
You'll have to come and see it.
I am coming to see it.
The people watching will have to come and see it.
All right. Fair enough. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with us this evening, John. I am really looking forward to the play, and I'm very grateful that you and Rob have brought the performance here to Barry as the North American premiere. So thank you once again. Appreciate it.
Here we go.
All right, then.
Yeah. Let's dance. Whoa! Ho, ho, he has a swipe, he has a swing, but he's never shared the ring with the Gypsy King. Oh,
Come on, mate, I barely touched you.
ha!
Oh, that side again, mate.
Yeah? Come on.
Come on, mate, if you want to cuddle me, it's all
Oh,
right.
yeah?
All right, mate, that's enough.
Oh, I'm just getting started.
Oh, we're done.
Let's go take more than that.
Done.
So that is all the time we have tonight on Let's Be Perfectly Queer. I want to thank my guests again. Rob, John, thank you very much for bringing this production of Gypsy Queen to Barrie. We've got, you've had 2 performances because it's Friday night now that we're watching this. So
Sure.
you've just had your 3rd performance.
It went
and
well.
We've got, yes, I'm sure it was wonderful. I'm looking forward to seeing it tomorrow night, and my husband and I will be here front and center watching. And again, thank you very much. I want to thank Tift for bringing this production to Barrie as well, Richard Vardy for bringing this to my attention and allowing this interview to happen. So Richard out there in Cyberland, thank you very much for that. And please tune in again next week for another episode of Let's Be Perfectly Queer.
I'll let you have that one. But beware the return of the Gypsy King. Oh.
You're a bit mad, you aren't you?
Yeah.
Listen, if you're going to be joining us, there's something you need to know.
Go on.
Don't take locker 3. Psychopath's locker. If you take that, it goes a bit.
Psycho.
Well, basically, yeah.
Yeah.
And one more thing. It's a Samson, Jim. Gorgeous, George.